Hi everyone, and welcome to this Visual Best Practice webinar, part of the Visual Analytics series. The Visual Analytics seminar will teach you the do and don'ts of great visualization, the theory behind the best practices that we recommend, and how to share and collaborate with your data using Tableau. My name is Marina Tranet, and I'm a solution engineer at Tableau Software. I have been working at Tableau for more than 3 years now and previously worked a lot with Excel and a few BI tools. And I have to admit that I am very grateful to have discovered Tableau 4 years ago. In this session on the science of data visualization, I will explain you how to design compelling and high-performing dashboards. So we will divide this session in two. First, we will cover the scientific underpinning of effective data visualization. It is not so much about Tableau, but really about how our brain works with visualizations. The second part, I will go over some best practices for building effective visualizations, whether they are simple worksheets, dashboards, stories, or infographics. The goal is really to help you to create visualization that people can quickly understand. But before I go into the deep science, I would like to do a warming up exercise. So right in front of you, you can see some data, a lot of numbers. And the exercise here is to count the number of nines. So how many nines can you see in this data? I'm going to give you a few seconds to run through the numbers and count how many nines you can see here. So usually, when we do this activity in a class, we get different responses. And people will find that there are 7 to 12 or more nines in this image. So what I want to show you here is how we can make this exercise easier. See, now it's easier to see where are the nines because our brain can just focus on the color and suddenly it is a lot clearer. But it's not ideal if you have to count them all and it's still a crosstab. So what if you want to know how many nines there are instantly? Here we can immediately see without counting that there are 13 nines. We can visualize the data in order and make it easier for other people to comprehend instantly. And boom, you can immediately see the answer. You can combine speed and accuracy, something that is very valuable in a report. So what I have shown you isn't real data, but it shows you the power of data exploration. And remember, data visualization is all about discovery. Being able to see these views in a matter of moments is the beauty of the science of data visualization and the importance of exploring data. Notice how we can use color, size, position, and length to display the information. So to answer the question, why we visualize data, well, it's because graph can provide us with insights that aren't obvious from statistical analysis. And here is an example. Let's turn now to another facet of how our brains can help or hinder our understanding of data. It is memory limits. So here let's start out looking at this table. And if I ask you whether we gain or lost customer over the 4 years, we can easily answer that because we have a total line. But if I ask you how each of our location compare, well, that's a little bit trickier, isn't it? But if the same data is shown visually with those line graph, we can easily make the comparison. Why is that? Because of our memory limits and because our brain can only remember 6 items at once. around 6 items. We usually work with more than 6 numbers at once. This table had 16 numbers. And here in each line, the line chart has 4 data points, but our brain perceives them as one. And that is the kind of visual chunking that is very helpful. So, of course, there are times for deep thinking, but that is usually slow and inefficient. So, when you were looking at the first table of nines, all in black, you were actually using a lot of your cerebral cortex to count and to add and to memorize the number of nines. But once it was colored in red, you were actually almost instantaneously looking at just the red because our brain and our visual cortex can detect patterns immediately. So if you put data in a form that our visual system can make sense of, you can explore that power. Pre-attentive attributes is what enable our brains to focus and process in milliseconds before we pay attention to anything else. So this is what scientists has discovered about the criteria that makes some visualization quicker to understand. So thanks to the research, we know now that there are just a few of what we call pre-attentive attributes that can create more clarity with your visualization. And there is actually a way to generalize the pre-attentive attributes in order of importance. If we sort a group of these attributes, position would be actually the best across the 4 types, because humans view position as the most important and shape as the least important. So if you're looking at a scatter plot, for example, you'll see the outlier the fastest. This hierarchy makes sense, and imagine how difficult it will be if all the stop signs change to yellow and all the give way signs to red. Even if they are all the same shape, it's the color that we look for first. And then we can also talk about colors and layout. Colors are, like I mentioned earlier, a very powerful and distinctive things to use to visualize data and insights. Tableau comes with a lot of different colors, but using too many bright colors can use sensory overkill. They should be reserved for data that stands out from the rest, and it is recommended to use color that are common in nature. Also, think twice before assigning meaning to data using red, yellow, or green. In North America, for example, we associate green with good and red with bad. But in China, red actually means good fortune. In Tableau, the default color gradient is set to a diverging blue-orange palette because it is better suited for people who are colorblind who cannot differentiate red and green. Using too many colors in your view can confuse our visual systems. As you can see here in this scatter plot, having one color per state is really confusing and we can't distinguish anything because our brain can distinguish about 8 colors or shades of a hue of a color. So what we want to avoid here is what we have come to know as a unicorn puke. In this example on the right, we have to fight against the color to try and decipher the message. It probably never get that bad, but let's face it, we all go through this stage. It's like a toddler being given a box of crayons on their birthday. But no worries, we actually have a tip for you. So here on the left, we have double encoded our data. The bars have different lengths per country and different color. Here, double double encoding the data can be problematic because there is no real meaning attached to the color. So the colorful bar charts calls our brain to try to understand the meaning of the colors, whereas a neutral color on all the bars, like on the right, would here be a better solution. So there are times where it's okay to double encode things, where there are multiple dimensions, for example. But you need to ask yourself if it's relevant to the analysis. The solution is to always start with gray. The absence of color is, if anything, more powerful. Look at the impact it has on the view on the right. Eva Murray visualized wealth inequality in the United States over time. She has dimmed the color in the back so that you can focus on the forefront. And we can see here that by the year 2010, the top 0.1% of the population have accumulated as much wealth as the rest of the population. So now let's move on to from the theoretical to the practical. Usually in Tableau, you would create a few views that you start putting in the dashboard. So let's take a second to consider the layout. It is important because it facilitates the flows of answers, and part of how that flow is dictated is how we read. We read in the Western world from top to bottom, left to right. And so our eyes will naturally look at the top left and central areas. So you should actually put the most emphasized or the most important information on the top left and in the middle, and make the bottom right less prominent. So therefore, most important visualization on the dashboard should be in that order. A recent study by the Tableau Research and Design have actually found something that is overriding those basic assumptions. They actually found that the most striking pattern we see was the visual attention paid to numbers in a very large font. Dashboard which contains very large number show a concentration of visual attention directly on the big number. Additionally, this attention happened very early in the viewing sequence. So if it's the first time you're viewing something, and if you have a very important number to display, don't hesitate to make it very big and put it on the top. So this image represents these eye tracking studies. We talked before about bar charts. They are our friends in most cases and the best way to quickly see differences. In this pie chart, we can see that if we didn't have the label, it would be hard to tell whether who is beating or losing to competitor B. You might be able to compare pie slice size if they're next to each other, but it will be harder if they're not close by. With a bar chart, even without the labels, we can see how they rank, especially if the bars are sorted. Bar chart can also help you to quickly see that one thing is twice as big as another. So also notice here the subtle shading we use in the bar chart to differentiate us compared to everyone else. It's very effective. With that said, you shouldn't be dogmatic. There are times where pie chart can appeal certain type of user because of their visual appeal. There are also times where bar chart are not the most relevant graph. As you can see in this example, on the left, it is hard to see the trend in the bar chart. We're trying to understand what is the evolution of the revenue over a month in 2017. But because of the height and the visual weight of the bar, it distracts from the overall shape of all the data. So in this case, the line chart, as you can see on the right, is much more effective to visualize changes over time. On the other hand, line charts are also effective where time are on the x-axis, but not very useful when it's another kind of dimension. Generally speaking, it would be good to avoid any food name graph like pie chart, donut chart, which are not very effective visual types. Here is another one, the spaghetti chart. The abundance of colored lines make it very difficult to see a particular trend. It's like a spaghetti ball thrown on the floor. So, as an alternative to the spaghetti chart, we can suggest you one solution, for example, which would be easy to implement. The highlighter. You could just drag your dimension to detail and instead of colors, right click and select show highlighter. And now you can easily identify which one belongs to your brand. Apart from these common rules that you have to keep in mind when building vises and dashboard, there are also some other best practices you can use. If you have to plot time, for example, do it on the x-axis. It makes very little sense doing it the other way around. Second, if you want to compare values, you probably should use a bar chart. And that is an evolution theory based tip. Because our brain is trained to see differences in size and level, we are really quick in doing so. The third one on the bottom left, when you are exploring relationships, for example, between two measures and with a lot of points, it would be best to use a scatter plot. And finally, on the bottom right, you can see that the tree map can be used when showing relative proportions. Another great tip would be to use consistent design and formatting. This is an example from our Iron Viz winner, Andy Coggrave. He's kind of a data rock star at Tableau. So this view doesn't overwhelm people. You don't want to randomly mix a horizontal and vertical bar chart. Otherwise, you will send people's eyeball all over the place. But at the same time, you don't want to make every component of the dashboard identical. So it's good to know different variation of line charts, like slope charts and other types. Here, the heat map of time for road fatalities help us to see what stands out. And also, too many of the same V's can create visual exhaustion. So even if Tableau provides diverse color palettes, don't freak out your audience by doing too much with color. The fewer ways you encode your data and the less your audience has to do to understand the dashboard. While it's best to let your V's focus on the numbers, there are subtle and effective ways to use text in dashboard. For example, you can use it in tooltips. Also, you should consider the level of accuracy of your dashboards. Does an executive need to see the revenue down to the penny? Or will 7.16 million as an aggregation surface. Another tip to focus on the data would be to avoid, or at least make it very light, all the grid lines and separator. So you have to go into the formatting and remove them in Tableau. Finally, an often forgotten best practice when you do some dashboarding is to get feedback. Get lots of feedback. If the data is not confidential, you can get feedback on database communities, Twitter, friends, family, or colleagues. If it's work related and confidential, get feedbacks from your colleagues that are allowed to see the data. And even if your reviewer don't know your business, they should still be able to understand what you're trying to convey in the dashboard within 5 seconds. If not, you should probably iterate and try again. And don't take it personally. So at some point, it will be good enough, and then you can publish it. And in Tableau, you don't have to wait for perfection. You can just iterate, make changes later on as well. So I hope that you felt inspired on how to use these tips and brain hacks for your own visuals. I found that there is a very useful website called Tableau Public where you can see the visual vocabulary. So try to use these tips next time. I'll show it to you. So that brings me to the conclusion of the session. We first looked at the science of data visualization and then look at the practical application and best practices. Here there are a few books that we found helpful, and these books go into a lot more detail on how to make your content more understandable and impactful, and there's a lot of example as well. Today's session was really just a quick appetizer. So I would strongly urge you to continue your Tableau education. Virtual classrooms are flexible and can be taken in 2 hours and a half over 5 days. But if you're really new to Tableau, I would suggest you to take our desktop one class first. I hope you found today's session to be helpful. So now I have finished the first half on the science of visualization, and I'll move to sharing and collaboration. Then at the very end, I'll share some extra resources that you might find helpful about both topics. So now that you have all the tips to create the best visuals, I wanted to tell you more about how you can share, interact, and collaborate with content in Tableau Server or Tableau Online. It is important for any organization to choose a platform that enables you to share accurate data and interactive dashboards while giving you control over how your organization accesses analytics. In the next 30 minutes, I want to show you how Tableau sharing and collaboration platform integrates seamlessly with Tableau Desktop and unleash the power of data across your organization. You might already know this, but Tableau introduced a role-based licensing model in 2018.1 version. So as a Tableau user, you would be assigned to one of those three roles in the platform. The creator role is more suited for analysts and power users who want to explore data deeply, use Tableau Desktop or Tableau Prep Builder to combine different data sets. Then we have the Tableau Explorer for business users who want to answer their own question faster with full self-service analytics. Finally, the Tableau Viewer role is more for casual data users who just want to view and interact with data built by others. So in this session, I will give you an overview of how each type of role can fully utilize all their license capabilities to share and collaborate together on the same secured platform. In a world striving for more data literacy and more data-driven decision making, looking to foster data culture is an obvious first step. When every department and role can analyze their own data, this frees up the analyst's task list, allowing them to have more time to analyze, generate smarter insights, and evangelize why a data culture is pivotal to success. I will show you the key features in the Tableau platform that can help you in this journey. But it cannot be forgotten that there is no silver bullet to creating and curating a data culture. It requires buy-in from all levels of the organization and a commitment to grow and nurture a community of exploration and sharing. So let's start with the interact part. I'll switch to my Tableau online site. So 1 second. Okay, so maybe I'll just sign out and sign in again. Okay, so that's my email address, and I'm going to sign in. Here we go. So this would be your site. You automatically get into the home. So your site is your new playground. You can see all the content that you have access to across your Tableau site from the navigation pane. Let's click Explore first. So here you can see all the projects, workbook, and views that you have access to. And your site role and permission determine the content that you can see and the options that are available for you. So let's see how we can interact with content, open a view, and see what we can do from there. So I'm going to search for an executive overview of a dashboard that I, let's say, usually look at. So the great thing with the interaction in Tableau is that when you interact with a view, you can simply change how it looks for a moment. And the next time you or your colleague open the view, it will look exactly as it originally appeared. The underlying data always remains safe and sound, so you can feel free to explore. So here, for example, I wanted to show you how I can select a specific central region and have my own view that interests me, and then maybe just select a certain period of time that also I want to focus on. In most cases, the creator of the dashboard will have add filters that let you limit visible data to specific date range, region, and categories. So you could either select a region via the quick filter, and as you want to see the trend for the last year only, you could use that date range filter as well. Sometimes the dashboard contain what we call V's in tooltips that gives you more detail about the specific data point on the view. And then you can immediately see the details without drilling down to another table. If you find yourself changing a Tableau server view every time you open it, you should consider saving your changes as a custom view. So, for example, if I'm only in charge of the central region, and I always want to see only the data for the last 12 months. Each time I open this view, I should definitely save a custom view. So it's very simple. You go in the view in the toolbar, and you call it here the name that you want it to be, and then you can save it, make it your default view, or make it also visible to others. So if you make it visible to others, um, other user can also access it and choose and have this option as different views. When you select a mark or a specific subset of mark in the view, you can see all the information about the marks in the tooltip appear. So here I have selected 20 states. The sum of those states is 43,000. And I can always check if I have the permission to view the underlying data. By clicking on this little table icon, I can see all the data related to those 20 states that I have hovered over and selected. There are also many ways to download this workbook and get kind of a snapshot of the visualization. So Explorer have multiple download options. So you have the top toolbar here and you click on download. You can download as an image, data, crosstab, PDF, PowerPoint, or a Tableau workbook if you're an explorer that can publish. So now that we have had an overview of what you can do through the web browser, I actually wanted to let you know that you can also access your Tableau dashboard via your mobile app and iPad that you can download for an iPhone or Android. With the device designer feature, Tableau Creator can create optimized layout for mobile and iPad very easily. So you don't have to wait to get back to your office or for your plane to touch down. You can have all interactive preview and your data will always be at a fingertips if you're connected to the network. The experience is adapted to mobile and iPad, and so you can also filter, select, drill down with a tap on your finger. I also wanted to talk about something new in Tableau that we introduced recently, which we call metric, and it's part of, so it has been released in 2020.2, and it's very convenient to view any dashboard and save a lot of time and effort for your Tableau data stewards. Metric allow you to put these key numbers to be easily tracked across any number of dashboards, providing value to those who may not be heavy Tableau user but still want or need to be informed without having to click through multiple dashboards. Metric support on Tableau Online allow all customers to track their data anytime and anywhere they want. So Explorer who can publish can create metrics from nearly any Tableau dashboard as an easy way to monitor key performance indicators that matter to them and make it available for viewers, explorers, and creators, so everyone else on the server or online. Metrics can be accessed both on the web and on the mobile app. So I'll show you how it looks on the web. It will look like this. And I will also show you how to create one very quickly because it is actually extremely easy. So here, for example, if I have a sales performance dashboard, and then what I'm most interested in every time is just to have the latest number that is refreshed every day, then I can click mm, on that measure, click on metric, and then it will give me the latest number every time. You can personalize the name, change the actual measure you want to have as a KPI number, and click create. So here you go. It was as simple as that. Now I go to the metric and it will kind of create this dashboard. You can share the metric and it will be found in the project book. So here, this is the new one that I have just created. So every time the data refreshes, the number will change. So people won't have to go into a dashboard. They can just look at the last number. Now I wanted to show you some more exciting things that an explorer can do, including what we call as data and web edit. So I'm going to show you. So depending on your level of access and permissions, you can edit an existing published workbook or add worksheets to your view, dashboards, and stories. You can create and edit a new workbook based on a published data source or edit an existing published data source and add worksheets. You can also connect to different published data sources while editing. So yeah, I'll show you very quickly how to do that. So to edit a published view, for example, we can have a look here. I can get to this overview. Then if I click on edit, so if you have the Explorer role on the website, you can see the layout of the dashboard, drill down to the different sheets of the dashboard, and maybe change instead of profit ratio. I want to see the discount instead, or change other things. It's really up to you. But basically, you can just start your own analysis, duplicate, add sheet, change or not, and then you will have, depending on your permissions again, you have the option to save or to save as um, on the site. So there is another thing that you could do is, so if I go to explore and look at all the data sources, let's say I will search for the Superstore dataset. And here, sorry, I just go back. So I have this Superstore dataset. And from all these, this is all what we call data sources. You see the ones with a tick are certified data sources. I can click on the three little dot and create a new workbook out of it. So if someone just publish a data source, I can create a new workbook from scratch using the web edit option. I can download the data and maybe use it to create a new dashboard on Tableau desktop, etc. So this is the things that you could do. But what I wanted to do uh, now is to show you another thing that an explorer can do in Tableau is to use as data. So here on my side, I have created a folder only with data sources. So here we have decided to only publish data sources for people to answer their own questions. So let's click here. So I'm clicking on this publish extract um, of the APARC Superstore dataset, which has been certified. So I know it's the right data that I can use. So the As Data tab, when I open it, open a data source, show it automatically, and I can see all the fields available, and the profile of the data gives me a good indication of what type of data these fields hold, including common values, numeric ranges, and time period. So this all prompt me to a question. Let's just start to ask using our natural language processing. So, what is our overall profit? So by asking just this, what we call natural language question, Tableau replaces it by an analytics expression, which is the sum of profit. And I get back to our answer. So let's break it down further. I want to know how our profit is doing by quarter. So now we translate that question into a line chart, and I have the representation of my profit by quarter. But you can ask other questions relevant to this data set, like how many customer do we have? So it would translate this as a discount count of customer, and then I say in each country, and then it will automatically show a map where you can see the number of customers in each country. So we can see how we can answer question very quickly using Ask Data and get an immediate visualization response. So where Ask Data really comes into its own, it's when it's used for conversational analytics. So if I type, I want my total revenue by product type. Um, so note that we actually don't have revenue or product type as field, but as data understand what we're looking for. So that's because we have added synonyms, so you can actually add other values than the name of the value itself. So here for subcategory, you have added the product type synonyms, and for sales, we have the revenue synonym, which you can edit very quickly by clicking on the editing. So here, what I want to know how our sales are doing, how our profit are doing. Okay, so they tell me that a scatter plot is better. I've seen before that tables are having kind of an issue. You can see the negative profitability here. So let's drill down on this. Keep only and drill down to see how it is doing for each product. So now we have drilled down from the subcategory level to the product level. And I can immediately identify all these elements that are negative as well. So I can actually adjust. If I'm only looking at profitability, for example, I can type low profits, and Tableau will then filter it out to only the one that have very low profits. And then you can click on ascending, descending, and see easily who are the most unprofitable product item in this category. So it was really quick to get this insight. We have discovered who was our lowest performing product, and now we can actually even save that workbook and use it as a base point for further analysis or share it with someone else to collaborate in Tableau. So I can save this or not save this. It's really up to me. So now I wanted to show you how you can actually share your content and idea. So basically how you can collaborate in Tableau. So as a viewer, um, You can subscribe to a specific view or to an entire dashboard. So if you open a view in Tableau, you can click on the subscription icon in the toolbar. You can subscribe to this view that you have created before, a custom view, and receive an image and a PDF or a PDF of this view by email on a schedule, custom the subject, and tell exactly when you want to receive it, at what time, on which specific day. So if you know how often the data will refresh, you can determine when you want people to subscribe, and you can actually add here like a whole group or a specific person, for example. And then you can subscribe them or subscribe yourself. So yeah, viewers can receive that, and explorers and creator can subscribe others to a view. As a viewer, um, you cannot create your own data-driven alerts, which are emails you send once a condition is met, but an explorer actually can. So I'm going to show you how to do it now. Data-driven alert is really great when you want to be notified when something reach a certain threshold. So let's just go to um, see another dashboard that might be relevant to get an alert from. Um, so here, for example, let's take the same one. So here, let's say that we have a whole sales team that is trying to achieve a certain number, and I'm the manager, and I actually just want to be notified if something happened based on a condition. So I click on an axis and I can create what we call an alert. So here, I can tailor my condition. If the total sum of sales is above or equal, let's say 6 million, or let's say my target is 8 million. So here you see the reference line changed. Then I want to receive an alert saying sales alert, we have reached 8 million. So if the condition is true, I can receive an email as frequently as possible or choose how many times it will refresh and see who will be the recipient. So then you can create an alert. So it's a tiny bit different to the subscription because it is conditional to a condition that you have set up on the measure. Okay. So to finish, I'm going back on my presentation. Sorry. So at the very end. So I just wanted to remind everyone that you can consume all of this published dashboard from everywhere. You can either embed your dashboard in your internal SharePoint or your application, your internal web page within your company, or just access the Tableau platform via web browser on your laptop, just as we did now. If you're often on the go, you could use your mobile or your iPad to see the latest KPI that you need to be on the top of. So, yeah, with that said, thank you very much for attending this session until the end. I hope that you have learned something today that will help you for your data analysis. For more live and recorded training videos, you can go on tableau.com/learn. And I would highly recommend you to check our Tableau public website, which has so many nice dashboards to look at. And if you have more questions, feel free to contact anzevents@tableau.com. So as I said before, I will send you maybe some of these resources I'm going to show you now, so that you can follow up with the best practices of the data visualization. So here they are. So if you go on the Tableau public website and you search for Andy Crable or visual vocabulary, you will see all these different type of graphs that he suggests. So if you're doing, for example, a ranking, he gives you different like suggestions. So this is more of a, yeah, the article about this visual vocabulary. So as I said, there are different ways to represent ranking, distribution, change over time. So if you're liking our inspiration, this will be great. So have a look at it. So on Tableau Public, you have the main gallery as well. And every day or every week, you have the viz of the day uh, that has been selected among all of the dashboard that are published all the time, really by your community of users who are absolutely passionate about Tableau and publishing those out of their working hours. So yeah, it's really a great source of inspiration, and often you can download them. So here in this case, the visual vocabulary that you have another one here that tells you an example of heat map, donut chart, label chart, so all type of charts, and you can download them as well if you want to reverse engineer how to do this. The session that I have presented for the best practice design is part of one of the Tableau conference session. But there are many things you can do. I really love the Tableau conference session. You can really choose if you want like to look more at dashboard and design, uh, what's your level, and then search for the different sessions that are relevant. So you have a lot of updated tips on this um, that are really, really good, I find. So one of my favorite for visual analytics is as well. So the science of data visualization is the one um, that I used as well for today's presentation. And you have also one that I really like called a practical guide to guided analytics. So yeah, thank you again, everyone, for coming today. I'll put back the contact and have a great day.